We have looked at a lot of deleted scenes on this channel, and in my last video we discussed the Vatos deleted scene. Yes, I heard you all, I'll try to say it right. And although part of the deleted scene was released on DVD/Blu-ray, there was a portion of the scene that only appeared in the Season 2 trailer. Now, the deleted scene we're looking at today is an example of this. We have snippets of it that were only released in the Season 7 trailer. Of course, I'm talking about the Dwight, Arat and Saviors versus Gordon chase scene, deleted scene. To set the stage, it's best to recap the episode like I normally do, to explain where these deleted scene parts would have been placed roughly. In Season 7, Episode 3, The Cell, Daryl is being tortured with that goddamn song. But aside from that, we do follow Dwight through his life at the sanctuary. We get shots of this man who gives Dwight a daunting look, and this man is Gordon. Anyway, Dwight's torture progress with Daryl impresses Negan, and Negan wants to offer Dwight to have a go at one of his wives. Ew. But Dwight refuses. Negan questions it, but he's saved by Arat on the radio, who reports the following.
We have an orange situation.
Arat, what do you got? Grab and go?
Yeah, he could have only gone three ways. The monk, the angel, or the herd way.
It's kind of hard to make Arat out, but this is what she says. Yeah, he could have only gone three ways, the moth, the angel, or the hard way. Dwight then tells Arat that he'll meet her at the gate, and we get a single shot of him leaving on Daryl's motorcycle, passing this angel, so maybe that's the route he decides to go to. There is no sign of Arat. She actually doesn't make an appearance in this episode at all. She doesn't appear until next episode. So on the face of it, it looks like Dwight is looking for Gordon all on his own now. Following this, we see Dwight pull up on the bike at this overpass with walker bodies surrounding the road. Dwight carefully zigzags the bike through the splattered bodies, the bike getting temporarily stuck, but he's seemingly able to get through the worst of it when a walker from the overpass above him comes crashing down. Dwight has a close call but survives. The next time we see Dwight, there's this really jarring cut. So we get Daryl getting beaten up after he escapes his cell, and then we have shots of Dwight pushing the bike some more. However, now the tyre is flat, the wheel is pretty screwed up. As well as this, look at Dwight's face. Scratch on his chin, blood all over his face, specifically on his nose as well. Now, maybe he just obtained this injury fighting the walkers at the overpass. The scene kind of is cut off, but he's just a bit too battered up, in my opinion, for it to have all happened with his tussle with a few walkers at the overpass. But maybe that's just me. Anyway, Dwight spots Gordon down the road, fighting with a walker. He tackles the man to the ground and eventually gets him at gunpoint, walking him back to the sanctuary. But now look at Dwight. He isn't just battered and bruised, he's also holding his side in pain. What gives? Did Gordon just fall on him wrong? How very strange. Eventually, Dwight mercy kills Gordon to spare him from a life at the sanctuary and brings Walker Gordon back home. So many questions. How did Dwight get so banged up? How did Daryl's bike get so banged up? Where was Arat? She was meant to meet with Dwight. Well, if you didn't guess, many scenes were cut from this entire segment of the episode. Now, it's possible there are way more scenes to it that we'll just never get to see. Actually, I'm pretty certain of that being true. But some of the missing parts can be found in the trailer for Season 7. So I'm going to go through it shot by shot of every scene that wasn't in this episode. So here is the first one. Have a little watch. So let's break this down. A vehicle rams a blue car. Said car then spins out of control and is faced with what rammed it. This big ass truck. And at least two other men on bikes. Now the driver of the car appears to be Gordon. Same hairline, same colour shirt. And one of the bikers has obviously got to be Dwight too. But I have no clue who the second biker is. And I believe the person driving the truck must be Arat. Then on to the next part, missing from the episode. Just a quick shot there of Dwight firing a gun. So here we both see Arat and Dwight, the latter firing his gun at someone or something. Now you see that big ass truck there behind the two, and out of focus is a car with a door open. Now it doesn't appear to be the blue car, but it also might be a lighting issue or a trick of the light as to why it looks different. I think it's a fair bet either way though that this part probably occurs likely in the same scene as the part where Gordon is rammed, but I'm uncertain for sure. Now, on to the third clip. Let me slow that down. So, the big ass truck there ramming another car. Now, at first, I thought this potentially could be another escapee, but Arat did say he, not them, implying there was only one escapee. Now, I was certain that there was an arm moving in this vehicle when it hit. The footage is really grainy, and obviously because there's an action shot, it's really hard to tell. It may just be a seatbelt or something I'm looking at, but I'm certain there's an arm there. I just cannot unsee it. But then I realised if it's an arm, why is it kind of reaching out to the window and all extended like that? At that moment, it hit me. I'm stupid. It's probably a walker. So they probably ram an abandoned car, possibly that's empty or has a walker inside, likely to clear a path. Also, looking at the big truck, I'm pretty sure Arat is on the left there. I can't tell who the other person is though. It might be Dwight, or maybe it's not. Who knows for sure. Then, on to the last of the cutscenes. Again, it's so quick, let me slow it down. So just a quick shot there of Dwight spinning out of control and coming off of his bike, possibly explaining why his bike got really busted up. So those are the 4 scenes that we have footage of. There certainly, like I said, would have been more. But now let's try our best to piece it all together. First of all, I think there was likely meant to be at least one earlier scene where Gordon and Dwight interact. Possibly this scene was included in that montage at the start of the episode, and the idea to make it into a montage with the music over any dialogue or any diegetic sound was a decision made later on. I mean, they have this weird jumpy shot where they replay the same few frames of Gordon's reaction. So there's a chance there was some dialogue here where Dwight and Gordon would exchange a few words. I always found it weird that the only interactions we have with Gordon post him fleeing the sanctuary is just these few shots. And for most of the audience, they probably wouldn't clock on that the guy who escaped the sanctuary was that dude who gave Dwight that look earlier in the episode. Then, after Gordon flees, I think instead of Dwight going alone, he would have met up with Arat. Remember, she said that Gordon could have gone only 3 ways. The moth, the angel, or the hard way. These are obviously code names for particular routes or roads. The angel likely referring to the road where this angel statue is. Now we see a similar statue when Jesus and Carl are heading to the sanctuary in the back of the Saviour truck. And also noticed how they have to maneuver their truck through all these abandoned cars to get to the sanctuary. So I believe Dwight decided to go down the angel route to look for Gordon, whereas other saviours went down the hard way and the moth. Considering the third option is called the hard way, I imagine that route is pretty dangerous, so I think the big ass truck probably went down that route. However, of course, Gordon would have gone down the hard way. I mean, there wouldn't be a story if he didn't. So I think Arat and her companions that she's with would have caught Gordon, and that's when we get the scene of the big ass truck ramming the red car. I think it's in pursuit of Gordon, but because of the vehicle jammed highway, it makes it difficult for them to catch up with him. Dwight is told over the radio where Gordon is located, so he and the other saviour on the other bike come to assist Arat and her companion who is driving the truck. Now, I'm honestly unsure how, but one way or another, Gordon must get away. Now, the road seems pretty open. Possibly he's made some traps, and I think this is where we get the scene of Dwight shooting at him. So, Gordon somehow escapes, and Dwight shoots him, but is unable to stop him, and he possibly flees in a vehicle. Again, I'm unsure how, but the other saviour on the other bike must have been either killed or incapacitated by Gordon's actions, as it's the only way this next part makes sense. So I think following this shootout, Gordon would have fled down a route that was inaccessible for the big ass truck, so instead Dwight went after him on his bike, alone. Gordon's escape was also likely on foot too. Here you can see a promo photo that was released for the episode. We don't actually see this particular part of the scene where Dwight is on the bike and it appears that he's just manoeuvred his way through some vehicles. But also notice behind him is some railway tracks. Now the following is behind the scenes footage concerning the whole overpass scene. They're showing off how they did the walker dropping from the bridge. Cool. Look what's over Denise Herf's shoulder there. It appears to be railway tracks. Am I right? Well, we get a better shot here. I'm pretty confident that that is a pair of railway tracks. Small side note here, I actually found the shooting location where they shot this scene. This is the overpass, and sure as you know it, there is the railway track. I think this promo photo would have been the next scene of Dwight manoeuvring his way through those vehicles, and then following this we get the overpass scene. Again, just to reiterate, compare this street view of the road literally just down the way from the overpass and compare this to the promo photo. Pretty sure this is the exact same location. So the next part is the promo photo and then it's the overpass scene. After Dwight got himself out of this little jam, he most likely simply picked his bike back up and went on riding down the road. Now his bike does fall over in the scene where the walker falls off the overpass, but there's no way that fall did all that damage to his bike. I just cannot believe it. After the overpass scene, Dwight is carrying on down the road, but Gordon has laid some sort of track. Most likely something that pops Dwight's tyres, and that's when we get the scene of him falling off his bike. Again, Street View Magnus. This is literally just down the road from the overpass. It's down there, you'll have to trust me. And look at the scene where Dwight falls off his bike and compare it to this kind of mound here. Now this is where the railway tracks are, and obviously you can see there's like a tree there with the bike going. Again, same scene, but it's down the road. Makes sense. The crash leaves Dwight battered, bruised, injured, and as he's wheeling his bike, perhaps to meet up with Arat, but then he sees Gordon battling that walker, and the rest of the scene would have played out just how it did in the episode. I think that's the chronology of the scenes at the very least, but I may have got the bits in between wrong. Again, I am literally just going off nothing. I'm trying to piece it all together, but that's my theory at least. I hope you enjoyed, but if you have a different perspective, let me know. The real question is, why was this scene cut, but included in the Season 7 trailer? Now, I think it must have something to do with post-production. Now, interestingly, this episode is 43 minutes long, whereas the other episodes that are standard length tend to be 46 minutes long. So it's only a discrepancy of a few minutes, but it's still worth noting. Basically, I think it comes down to this. Unfortunately, when you're running a pretty low budget television show and you want to shoot a pretty complex action scene, things go wrong, especially in post-production. And I imagine when the scene was put together, they realised it looked kind of whack, it wasn't great, or potentially it made the episode go over the length it was required to be. So they decided to cut it down and only show what they believed were the essential scenes. That's the simplest explanation, that's the only thing I can think of, and that makes sense. Because there was a time where it was planned to be in the episode, and then when it came down to the final cut of the episode, they unfortunately had to cut these particular parts of the subplot. As well, I think they wanted to prioritise the whole Daryl being tortured plot because that was going to be way more interesting for the audience. Anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you to all channel members. We've got Baddie, Just Jordan, August Fisher, Rye, Austin Mann, Jesus, Logan Keeley, Corey, Jack Sokel, Charles, Nova, Gamer J, Tyler B, Beatleaf TTV, That Panda, Turbo Clash G, Straight Outta Christ the YouTube TV show, Ralph Farhar, Slinger, Gnostics 212, Nick Sterlino is my gay daddy, David Mulligan, and True Paranormal. And then a huge, massive shout out to my Walker slaying legends. We've got Red Lemon Cola, Coda Col, whatever comes to mind, Gavin Kelly, and Z, I hear it's Z Fungi 148, or Fungi as I like to say. Cheers.
And it's proof that they're raw dogging it too.